Hello everyone, my name is Eric, and today I want to talk to you about the proper seasoning it takes to hold your cigars in a controlled environment. You are watching Oakland Tobacconist. If you're interested in more information or particular awesome products that are coming down the line, join the OGT Cigar community. We would love to have you. Please do not forget to like, to comment, subscribe, and to hit the bell so that you are alerted every time we produce new content. Several months ago, I made a video to kind of help on the concept of humidity and how that's ever changing depending on your environment, depending on how dry the air is outside, where to store your humidor, and so on and so forth. And I probably will be making another video on that a bit more in depth, but today I want to talk about something as we enter into the fall season. This is a question I get a lot, and it seems to be around this time of year, around Christmas time, and that is, how do I set up my humidor? Or the proper term, if you're Googling it, sometimes it's known as how to season your humidor properly. That being said, you will find, as you research a lot of different things within this industry, you will find that a lot of people have their own methods, their own ideas. And when I was starting out, I found out there was a lot of information that I don't agree with today. And you sometimes have these concepts that are thrown around so often, it seems like it might be gospel, but when it comes to enjoying your cigars, or even storing your cigars in a safe environment where they're not going to get destroyed, it's very important to understand some key aspects. And it's also very important to cross-reference. And some of the things I have learned has been from asking manufacturers, it's been asking companies like Boveda who do the humidification, it's been asking around and doing my own research to cross-reference the information I've been given to hopefully make the best informed decision I can. The information I want to give you today hopefully will help you out in setting up your humidor to the best it can and give it the best opportunity it can to storing those cigars, whether you're trying to age them, whether you want it just for short term, or whatever the application is. Hopefully this will help you out in that regard. Few things to avoid when it comes to humidors. If you want to have as least amount of stress as possible, if you want to minimize the amount of worry that you have when you're storing your cigars, trying to age the cigars, is I do advise, if you can help it, maybe avoid a glass top humidor. Now, not all of them are bad or made poorly, and not all of them leak, but chances are a high percentage of them do leak because of the seal around the top of the glass that can sometimes have the humidity escape or not really regulate because of the insulation. So I normally just try to steer away from that. If you want to try to do a humidor situation on the more affordable, cheaper end side, there's a whole aspect of tupperdoors that have a really good seal that you could use. And you don't have to season a tupperdoor, you can go ahead and set it and make it work, but not everyone wants a tupperdoor. Sometimes you want that classic Spanish cedar experience that infuses some of that aroma into the cigars and just absorb and be on another level. That being said, I would advise something that is not glass top, that is Spanish cedar, and that is why usually we recommend something like this. This is a Savoy. Savoy is not going to break the bank. It's not the highest quality. It's not the best of the best, but it will do what you need it to do. And typically it has that really good seal that I enjoy and that Spanish cedar lining. Now, the important thing to note is when trying to figure out where your humidor is at in terms of humidity, there is a sound check that you can do that's lifting the top of the lid and letting it free drop, and you don't want to sound like it's wood knocking against wood. Instead, you want to have almost like a thump sound. You have the wood swollen, and as it drops, it then silences that sound. That right there tells me that this particular humidor probably needs a little bit of seasoning and some humidification. There are multiple ways to do this, and the concept is, because you have Spanish cedar here, you're wanting that Spanish cedar to absorb the moisture. Because Spanish cedar is very porous, it can absorb and hold that humidity the way you want it to, and it can hopefully regulate the environment. You would want to season this by supercharging the moisture within the Spanish cedar. And there are many different methods out there. There are some that basically work. There are some that I consider to be the better method, and there's some I definitely do not recommend. And unfortunately, a lot of these rumors go around where it seems like it is the gospel. If we were to take this humidor, now that it needs to be seasoned as we can hear it, we want to infuse that extra moisture inside. You're looking for a moisture point above what you normally keep your cigars at. And as we've talked before, you can keep your cigars at varying different lengths. I personally like 67%. I personally like 67%, 68%. That seems to be the sweet spot from where we are at in California. If we're gonna season this, we want it to exceed higher volume, perhaps in the 80s or such like that. So how do we do that? The most common way you've been told probably or heard to season a humidor is using the wipe down method. You take a paper towel or maybe a sponge and you wipe and line the inside with water so that all of that moisture will impart itself into the wood. I knew this is what I heard, and I know the first humidor I tried, that's what I did. However, it is not the way to do it. In fact, I repeat, do not use that method, and here is why. You are relying on a Spanish cedar, a wooden humidor, to have a good seal. And when you're shocking that much water into the corners, into the lid and the bottom, you are shocking water into that, and there is a chance that that wood could warp, as well as that you're adding all of that moisture in it so quickly, it may not soak up the direct way that you want. So I definitely don't want you to run the risk of ruining the seal on your humidor, so do not use the wipe down method. Instead, the two recommendations I would give is one, on the more affordable side, if you want to try to season your humidor without breaking the bank. On the bottom, maybe take like a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, something like that, and protect it and lay it on the bottom, and then using distilled water only use distilled water. You take a brand new sealed sponge, you soak distilled water into it and lay that sponge on the plastic. Make certain that there is a barrier, there's a safe barrier where that sponge will not touch the wood inside the humidor. And then you close the lid and let the moisture, the distilled water, evaporate into the surrounding walls of the Spanish cedar. That hopefully will impart its way. Now, is that the best method? No. You definitely don't want to spill water in your humidor, but it is a method leaning on the more affordable side. The best method I would recommend is using a Boveda pack seasoning pack. Now, as I've talked before, the humidor that I have with me right here, that's a 50 count humidor. So it says you basically hit 50. What you want to do is you want to put in one Boveda 60 gram pack rated for every 25 count rating in your humidor. In other words, if it's 50 count, for every 25 count rating, you want one pack. That being, you want two within a 50 count. Doesn't matter if the humidor is full. Doesn't matter if there's only one cigar in there. That does not affect the difference. You want to do 1 per 25 rating. If you are going to season your humidor, you get an 84%. It's definitely a higher percentage. You get 2 of those packs for a 50 count rating, and you drop that inside, close the humidor, and allow that to evaporate at least a minimum a week and a half. You want all of that moisture to soak up into the Spanish cedar. You want it to season within it and be ready to go. That way it's soaking up that moisture. And after that period, I definitely recommend at minimum a week and a half. 2 weeks is definitely better. Then at the end, your humidor has been seasoned. It has that extra moisture within it. You take it out and then you replace it with 2 other packs of whichever rating you want. 72%, 69%, 65, whatever you feel like is going to work best. But you want to slowly introduce that moisture into the Spanish cedar. As it gathers it up, it holds that environment. You're not messing with any of the seals. You're not splashing water anywhere. You're simply letting it breathe itself into the Spanish cedar as it is meant to be, and you'll get a much more safe, protected way to season it that way. Overall, I think the takeaways definitely is do not use the wipe down method. There are ways to do it other than Boveda, but I definitely think that Boveda is probably the safest and probably the most precise way of doing it. Drop down in the comments, what do you like to keep your humidity at within your humidor, and how did you arrive at that conclusion? As always, thank you for watching, and thank you for all the support. We will see you next time on Oakland Tobacconist.